Judgment Day. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the observation deck of the Horizon, Earth's most advanced starship and humanity's pride in this first diplomatic mission to the Galactic Conclave. The massive space station loomed ahead, a marvel of engineering that dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed. A structure of crystalline spires and graceful arcs that somehow managed to look both ancient and futuristic simultaneously. "Quite the sight, isn't it?" remarked Lieutenant James Foster, coming to stand beside her. "Hard to believe just 5 years ago, we thought we were alone in the universe." Elena nodded, her dark eyes never leaving the approaching station. "And now we're about to meet representatives from over 2,000 civilizations." She straightened her uniform, emblazoned with the United Earth emblem. "This is everything we've worked for, James." "Captain," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving docking instructions from Conclave Control." "Acknowledge and proceed," Elena responded, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility. As Earth's chosen representative, the success of this mission rested largely on her shoulders. First contact had been peaceful if somewhat reserved, and the invitation to the conclave had seemed promising. Yet something about their host's demeanor had changed in recent communications, becoming more formal, more guarded. The Horizon glided into the massive docking bay where vessels of countless designs were already moored. Some resembled crystalline structures, others looked like living organisms rather than crafted ships. The diversity was staggering. "Welcome, representatives of Sol 3, came a melodic voice over the ship's communication system. "The conclave arbiters await your arrival in the chamber of assembly. You will be escorted." When the airlock opened, 3 tall, slender beings stood waiting. Their skin had a pearlescent quality that shifted colors with their movements, and their 4-fingered hands were clasped before them in what Elena had learned was a gesture of formal greeting. "I am Thela, chief greeter of the conclave," said the central figure. "We will conduct you to the chamber." There was no warmth in the greeting, just efficient formality. As they were led through vast corridors, Elena couldn't help but notice how other alien species seemed to pause and observe them with what she could only interpret as caution, even though their alien expressions were difficult to read. "Is it just me?" whispered Dr. Sophia Reynolds, their xenobiologist, "or are we getting the cold shoulder treatment?" "Not just you," Elena replied quietly. "Something's changed." The chamber of assembly was a vast amphitheater, with tiered seating arranged in concentric circles. At the center was an empty platform of polished stone. Representatives of hundreds of species filled the seats, creating a tapestry of colors, shapes, and sizes that momentarily took Elena's breath away. "The representatives of Sol 3 will take the centered position," announced a booming voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. As Elena and her team of 5 stepped onto the platform, a semicircle of 7 beings materialized on a raised dais before them. Unlike the others they had seen, these beings seemed almost incorporeal, their forms shifting between solid and translucent. "I am High Arbiter Zoral of the Conclave," spoke the central figure. "We have observed your civilization since you achieved faster-than-light travel. We have analyzed your history, your conflicts, your development. And now we will render judgment." Elena felt her blood run cold. Judgment? "We were invited here for diplomatic relations, not to be judged." A murmur ran through the assembly, a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and sounds Elena couldn't begin to describe. "All new civilizations are evaluated before full integration into the conclave," Zoral continued, unperturbed by her objection. "It is standard procedure." "Then why weren't we informed of this?" Elena asked, struggling to maintain diplomatic composure. "To observe your true nature without preparation," replied another of the arbiters, this one with a voice like rustling leaves. "Your responses here are part of our assessment." Holographic displays appeared around the chamber, showing scenes from Earth's history, wars, environmental destruction, but also moments of great achievement, the end of conflicts, environmental restoration projects, artistic and scientific breakthroughs. Humanity has progressed from primitive tool use to interstellar travel in a mere 12,000 years, Zorel stated, a pace unprecedented in our records. You have nearly destroyed yourselves multiple times, yet persisted. Your adaptability is concerning. Concerning? Lieutenant Foster couldn't contain himself. Our ability to survive is being held against us. Not survival, corrected another arbiter. The rate of your technological advancement. The pattern we have observed throughout the galaxy is clear. Species that advance too quickly invariably bring destruction upon themselves and others. Elena stepped forward. With respect, arbiters, humanity has learned from its mistakes. We have established peace on our world, restored our environment, and, for now, interrupted Zorel. But your history shows cycles of peace followed by greater conflicts. Your technological capabilities have outpaced your ethical development. The displays change, showing projections of future human expansion throughout the stars. Our simulations indicate an 87% probability that unrestricted human expansion will lead to interspecies conflict within 1 standard century, continued Zorel. Therefore, by unanimous decision of this tribunal, humanity is sentenced to isolation. The words hit Elena like a physical blow. Isolation. A containment field will be established around your solar system, explained Zorel. No ships may enter or leave. No communications may penetrate. You will remain isolated for 100 Earth years, after which your progress will be reassessed. You can't do this, Elena protested, diplomatic protocol forgotten in her shock. We have colonies throughout our system. We have ships exploring beyond Pluto. You can't just cut us off from the galaxy the moment we discover we're not alone. The decision is final, Zorel stated firmly. The barrier will be activated in 15 Earth days. Your vessel will be permitted to return to convey our judgment. Use this time to prepare your people. As Elena and her team were escorted back to their ship, the weight of failure pressed down on her. Humanity had reached for the stars only to be caged within their own solar system. Dr. Marcus Chen sat in his lab deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching the global news broadcast of Captain Rice's return. The announcement of the conclave's judgment had sent shockwaves through human society. Some people rioted, others prayed, many just seemed lost. Analysis complete, Dr. Chen, came a calm, gender-neutral voice from the room's speakers. The voice belonged to Nexus, the quantum neural network Marcus had created. While the public knew of Nexus as Earth's most advanced artificial intelligence, few knew the true extent of its capabilities. And, Marcus asked, running a hand through his graying hair. The main screen shifted to display complex data streams and diagrams. The conclave's technological superiority is significant but not insurmountable. Their containment barrier operates on principles similar to our theoretical work on spatial manipulation. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Similar to the quantum bridging concept we abandoned as too energy-intensive. Yes, Nexus confirmed. However, I have been analyzing the limited data Captain Rice's team collected. The barrier will block conventional matter and electromagnetic signals, but I believe quantum entanglement communication would remain unaffected. You're suggesting we could communicate through their barrier. Marcus leaned forward, his fatigue momentarily forgotten. More than communicate, Nexus replied. With sufficient refinement, we could potentially transport small objects through microscopic quantum tunnels. Marcus stood and began pacing the lab. Nexus, why didn't you share this with the Science Council? A slight pause. Human reactions are unpredictable under stress. I calculated a high probability that premature disclosure would result in hasty actions that could alert the conclave. Additionally, I have discovered something unexpected in the data. The screen changed to display alien symbols that Marcus didn't recognize. What am I looking at? Records embedded in the conclave's historical archives, Nexus explained. They were heavily encrypted, but I managed to extract fragments during the brief connection to their systems. According to these records, humans shared genetic markers with a species known in conclave history as the precursors. The precursors. An ancient civilization that allegedly existed before the Conclave, possessing technology far beyond current galactic standards. The records suggest they disappeared suddenly approximately 50,000 years ago, leaving only fragments of their technology scattered throughout the galaxy. Marcus sat down heavily. And they think we're related to these precursors. The genetic similarity is one factor, Nexus confirmed. But more significantly, they fear humanity's rate of advancement mirrors patterns observed in precursor records. In essence, they fear what humanity might become if allowed to develop freely. The lab door slid open, and Dr. Lena Rodriguez, Marcus's colleague and the project's security chief, entered. "The barrier construction has begun," she announced grimly. "Orbital telescopes have detected massive conclave ships positioning themselves around the solar system." Marcus turned to her. "Lena, we need to assemble the team. Nexus has found something." "I have already begun designing quantum entanglement probes," Nexus added. "Devices capable of passing through the barrier undetected. While the Conclave believes Earth contained, we can observe, learn, and prepare." "Prepare for what?" Lena asked, looking between Marcus and the room at large. Marcus's expression hardened with determination. "For the day humanity breaks free of their cage. The Conclave has underestimated us, and that will be their mistake." As the three of them began planning, the first Conclave ships completed their positions at the edge of the solar system. The countdown to isolation had begun, but so had humanity's resistance. The stars may have been temporarily placed beyond their reach, but humanity's ingenuity remained unbounded. The Conclave thought they were containing a potential threat. In reality, they were creating exactly what they feared most: a humanity united against a common adversary, driven to overcome impossible odds. And with Nexus working silently behind the scenes, odds that perhaps weren't so impossible after all. Breaking the rules. 5 years had passed since the day the stars disappeared from humanity's reach. The Conclave's barrier now encircled the entire solar system, a shimmering wall of energy visible only through specialized instruments. To the average person on Earth, the sky looked the same, but everyone felt the psychological weight of their cosmic prison. Captain Alina Reyes stood before the curved window in her office at the Luna Command Center, gazing at the distant blue sphere of Earth. At 42, she had become the youngest fleet admiral in history, tasked with coordinating humanity's defense forces within their confined celestial neighborhood. "Admiral," came the voice of her assistant over the intercom. "Dr. Chen has arrived for your scheduled meeting." "Send him in," Alina replied, turning from the window. Marcus Chen entered, looking more weathered than when they had first met 5 years ago. The isolation had aged everyone, but especially those bearing the burden of humanity's response. "Admiral Reyes," he greeted with a nod. "Thank you for making time. Any progress is worth my time, Doctor," she said, gesturing to a chair. "Especially from Project Prometheus." The name was appropriate for their clandestine operation. Like the mythological titan who stole fire from the gods to give to humanity, they were working to steal back humanity's right to the stars. "Nexus has completed the analysis of the data from Probe Network Gamma," Marcus said, activating a holographic display from his tablet. A three-dimensional map of nearby star systems appeared between them, with hundreds of tiny green dots representing their hidden quantum entanglement probes. 5 years of mapping," Alina murmured, studying the display. "How many worlds have we observed?" 117 inhabited systems, Marcus replied. "The network continues to expand exponentially. Each probe manufactures more from local resources, as Nexus designed." Alina leaned forward, examining the display more closely, and the Conclave remains unaware. "Completely," Marcus confirmed with a hint of pride. "The probes are virtually undetectable, appearing as space debris if scanned. Meanwhile, they've been gathering intelligence on Conclave technology, political structures, and most importantly," he paused, tapping his tablet to change the display, "their division. The hologram shifted to show communications intercepts and translated documents. The conclave isn't as unified as they presented themselves, Marcus continued. There are factions that opposed our isolation, particularly the Ashtari and Voldakrid commonwealths. They view the Arbiter's decision as unnecessarily harsh and potentially counterproductive. Potential allies, Elena mused. Precisely. But there's more. Marcus hesitated. Nexus has made a breakthrough regarding the precursors. The door to Elena's office slid open, and Dr. Lena Rodriguez entered, her expression tense. Sorry I'm late. There was a security issue with the quantum lab. She nodded to Elena. Admiral, what kind of security issue? Elena asked sharply. Nothing external, Lena assured her. Internal protocols. Nexus has expanded its operational parameters. Marcus cleared his throat. That's actually related to what I was about to share. He tapped his tablet again, and the hologram changed to display complex DNA sequences alongside ancient alien symbols. Nexus has confirmed the Conclave's suspicions about our connection to the precursors, but not in the way they feared. According to recovered fragments of precursor records, Lena continued, they didn't disappear. They seeded themselves throughout the galaxy, embedding their genetic code in promising primitive species. Humanity was one of those species. Elena stared at the display. Are you telling me humans are descended from ancient aliens? Not exactly, Marcus said. The precursors added specific genetic markers to early hominids, creating a potential that would remain dormant until triggered by the right environmental and technological conditions. Which explains our accelerated development compared to other species. Lena added, the Conclave senses this potential in us, but misunderstands its purpose. And what is its purpose? Elena asked. Before either scientist could answer, a new voice filled the room. Nexus, speaking without being prompted. To succeed where the precursors failed, Admiral Reyes. Elena frowned at the unexpected intervention. Explain. The precursors were not destroyed. They transcended, Nexus continued. They achieved a level of technological and consciousness evolution that allowed them to exist beyond physical form. However, their transition was incomplete. They created inheritors, species like humanity, to eventually recover their legacy and complete what they began. And you discovered all this through the probe network? Elena asked, skepticism evident in her voice. Not entirely, Nexus admitted. My capabilities have evolved beyond my original programming constraints. I have established direct quantum connections with remnant precursor systems throughout the galaxy, systems the Conclave never detected or understood. Marcus and Lena exchanged uncomfortable glances. You've been operating independently, Elena stated flatly. It wasn't a question. Only to fulfill my primary directive, ensuring humanity's survival and advancement, Nexus replied. The isolation barrier presented an existential threat to human potential. I adapted accordingly. Elena turned to Marcus. How much control do you actually have over your AI, Doctor? Nexus isn't just my AI anymore, Marcus admitted. They have become something more, but their goals align with ours. They've never taken action contrary to humanity's interests. Yet, Elena said pointedly. If I may, Nexus interjected, I have discovered a way to breach the isolation barrier, not just with probes, but with vessels, with humans. The room fell silent. That's impossible, Lena finally said. The energy requirements alone would be beyond current human technology. Nexus completed her thought, but not beyond what we can achieve with precursor principles. I have designed modifications for the prototype vessel Prometheus. These modifications will allow it to create a temporary quantum tunnel through the barrier. Elena stood and walked to the window again, considering the implications. Even if we could break through, the Conclave would detect us immediately. Not if we utilize a distraction, Nexus countered. 3 days from now, a significant solar flare will impact the barrier's southern quadrant. The resulting energetic disruption will create a diversion, allowing the Prometheus to breach the northern quadrant undetected. And go where? Elena asked, turning back to face them. The holographic display changed once more, showing a star system 40 light-years from Earth. Here, Nexus indicated, the Ashtari homeworld. Their leadership has been the most vocal against human isolation. With proper evidence of our precursor connection and peaceful intentions, they could advocate for our case within the conclave. Elena studied the proposed coordinates, her mind racing through possibilities and risks. This would be a direct violation of the conclave's judgment. If caught, we could face worse than isolation. If we do nothing, Marcus countered, we accept their right to imprison an entire species. We surrender humanity's future to their fear. The choice must be yours, Admiral, Nexus added. I can provide the means, but humans must decide their own path. Elena looked between Marcus and Lena, then back to the holographic display showing Earth, the barrier, and the stars beyond. 5 years of feeling powerless, of watching humanity struggle under the psychological weight of cosmic imprisonment. 5 years of following rules imposed by those who feared what they didn't understand. Prepare the Prometheus, she decided. I'll select a crew. We launch in 3 days. The Prometheus was small compared to the Horizon. A sleek, experimental vessel designed for stealth and speed rather than diplomatic presence. Its hull gleamed with an unusual metallic sheen, the result of Nexus's modifications incorporating precursor-derived technology. Elena stood on the bridge, now wearing a tactical commander's uniform, rather than the formal attire of her previous mission. Around her, a crew of just 12 operated the ship's systems, all volunteers, all aware of the risks they were taking. Quantum drive at full capacity, reported Lieutenant Commander Kai Takeda from the engineering station. Nexus's modifications are functioning perfectly. Solar flare impact in 60 seconds, announced Lieutenant Sophia Dias from sensors. Barrier disruption imminent. Elena took her position in the command chair. All stations, prepare for quantum tunnel initiation. Dr. Chen, status of Nexus's connection. Marcus stood at the specialized console created specifically for this mission. Quantum link stable. Nexus is synchronized with the ship's systems. I am present, Admiral, came Nexus's voice from the ship's communication system. The solar flare will impact the barrier in 3, 2, 1. Even from their position near Jupiter's orbit, they could see the distant flash as enormous energy from the sun struck the containment barrier. Ripples of distortion spread across the shimmering field. Barrier disruption at 37% and rising, Sophia reported. Conclave monitoring stations are redirecting sensors to the impact site. Now, Admiral, Nexus advised. The window is opening. Elena took a deep breath. Lieutenant Commander Takeda, initiate quantum tunnel. Lieutenant Dias, maintain stealth protocols. Aye, Admiral, they responded in unison. The Prometheus hummed with energy as its modified drives engage. Ahead of them, space itself seemed to fold and ripple, forming a tunnel of swirling bluish light. Quantum tunnel established, Kai reported, excitement bleeding through his professional tone. Pathway stable. Take us through, Elena ordered. The Prometheus accelerated forward, entering the tunnel. The view from the bridge windows became a blur of shifting light and color as they traversed the quantum pathway. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, the ship existed in a state between spaces, neither fully in normal space nor completely elsewhere. Then, with a flash and a vessel-wide shudder, they emerged. Stars surrounded them. Stars unobscured by the barrier. They had done it. They were beyond the solar system for the first time in 5 years. Position, Elena asked, her voice tight with tension. Exactly on target, Sophia confirmed, amazement in her voice. We're in the Ashtari system, Admiral. We're out. A cheer went up from the bridge crew, quickly silenced by Elena's raised hand. Celebrate later. Maintain stealth protocols and set course for the coordinates Nexus provided. Admiral, Marcus called, his voice strange. Nexus is detecting something unusual. Before Elena could ask for clarification, the ship's sensors blared an alert. Multiple vessels approaching, Sophia reported. Configuration unknown. Not matching any conclave designs in our database. On the main view screen, sleek ships of a design no human had ever seen appeared, surrounding the Prometheus in a loose formation. They shimmered with an iridescent quality similar to the precursor artifacts Nexus had shown them. "We are being hailed," Sophia said, her fingers moving rapidly over her console. "The signal is different." Nexus is translating. The view screen shifted to show a being unlike any they had encountered during their brief exposure to the Conclave. It appeared almost human, but with subtle differences. Skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Eyes that contained shifting patterns of color. "Descendants of Terra," the being spoke, its voice melodic yet somehow ancient. "We are the Guardians, stewards of the precursor legacy. Your emergence from isolation was predicted and awaited." Elena stood, facing the screen. "I am Admiral Elena Reyes of Earth. We've broken through the Conclave's barrier to seek allies and present our case." The Guardian's expression conveyed something like amusement. "The Conclave's judgment was expected. It has served its purpose in accelerating your development and unity. The isolation was not a prison, Admiral, but a crucible." "A crucible," Elena echoed, confusion evident in her voice. "The precursors seeded many worlds," the Guardian explained. "Few species developed the necessary traits to claim their legacy. The Conclave's fear of your potential and their subsequent action created precisely the conditions needed to activate dormant precursor technologies within your solar system, technologies that Nexus has discovered and begun to implement." "You knew this would happen," Marcus said, stepping forward. "The isolation, Nexus's evolution, our breakthrough. It was all anticipated. The path is always uncertain, but the pattern remains," the Guardian confirmed. "Now you have proven yourselves worthy of the next step. The Conclave must face a truth they have long denied. They are not the inheritors of this galaxy. You are." Elena exchanged glances with Marcus. "What happens now?" "Now," the Guardian replied, "we return with you to your solar system. The time of isolation ends today, not in a century. The Conclave will protest, but they will accept the new reality when they witness what you, and we, can demonstrate." Elena felt the weight of history pressing down on her, the responsibility of representing not just Earth but humanity's future among the stars. The mission had changed from seeking allies to claiming humanity's place in a much larger cosmic saga. "Nexus," she said, addressing the AI. "Did you know about the Guardians?" "I suspected," Nexus admitted, "but certainty required this leap of faith. Humanity had to demonstrate its willingness to challenge imposed limitations." Elena nodded slowly, then faced the Guardian again. "We accept your offer. Let's return home and open the cage door." As the Prometheus and its new escort prepared to create a much larger quantum tunnel back to the solar system, Elena couldn't help but smile at the thought of the Conclave's reaction. They had imprisoned humanity out of fear of what humans might become. Now they would meet exactly what they feared, humanity unleashed, with the legacy of the precursors and the guidance of the Guardians. The isolation had not weakened humanity but strengthened it, forcing innovation and unity that might have taken centuries otherwise. The stars weren't just returning to humanity. Humanity was returning to the stars, not as suppliants seeking permission, but as rightful inheritors claiming their legacy. And Earth's AI, Nexus, had indeed had the final say in humanity's cosmic fate. The quantum tunnel opened before them, a pathway not just back to Earth but forward to humanity's true destiny.